1, 2, 3, we're back in the game. I hope everyone's doing well. Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Have you missed me? Have you missed the Spurs Talk Show? Bugsy's in bed. She's having an early night. But we are back. And I've got together two of the old crew, two of the boys have decided to show up on my return to action. Guys, I hope you're all doing happy and healthy, doing the things you love with the people that you love doing them with. It's been a long time since I said those famous words. Guys, I've missed you. Johnny, how you doing?
Guess who's back? Yeah. Listen, it's been a long while. It's been a long while. But it's great to have you back, Sean, and to bash out some football stuff. It's not been the same without you. And thankfully now my DMs will no doubt just ground to a halt now and be completely empty with people asking me, when is the maestro coming back? He's back and hopefully he's here to stay. And nice to be on with you and Henry. Just about
mate, it's great to have you, mate.
When he came on.
It's a different version of Henry. It's
yeah. And Sean, you're looking great, mate. You're looking good. You've obviously been looking after yourself in your absence.
No, this is stress-based weight loss. It's an undesirable book that I'll be releasing. How to lose a couple of stone in 30 days. It's basically completely distract yourself from everything else in life apart from focusing on trying to resolve some hacking problems. But anyway, I appreciate it, mate. It's great to see you, Johnny. Henry, it's great to see you. You look entirely different, mate. You look like...
Yeah, mate, I've had all sorts of hair problems. I went to Slim Shady. I looked like I was going to drop an album. Now I look like Sinead O'Connor. So, we've had... Look, but I just want to say before we jump into it, on behalf of the entire Tottenham online fan base, Twitter, the amount of people that have reached out to me, and obviously me and Johnny know probably more than anyone else what's going on. It's good to have you back, mate. And you are looking,
cheers, mate.
Considering all the stress you are under, you look incredible. You look a lot better than I do. So put it that way. So yeah, it's good to have you back,
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Look, it's been a long couple of months. It's been a horrible summer, worst summer of my life. I'm not going to dwell on it because very little's been resolved. But I kind of got to the point where I'm sick and tired of focusing on one thing. And I miss talking to you boys. I miss talking to the community. I miss getting into the weeds with whatever's gone on. And to be entirely honest, like I'll say it from the get-go, ladies and gentlemen, like it's the least informed I feel about Tottenham right now. I haven't really had enough bandwidth to pay too close attention. So as the comeback show requires, especially given the week we're about to walk into, we've already walked into the week that we're about to face with, I think it's 6 or 7 games in the next 30 days. Starting with Arsenal at home. Who else to have than to inform me as much as anything else on where we're at, what's going on, what the vibe is in the fan base. All I've seen really is some spats and some feuds and things. To
let you know, can I just fill in here, Sean, just for a second?
Yeah. Because
Sean's been out the loop and he's not watched anything. Just to fill in, before Sean came on, I told him we are title contenders, and we're being tipped for the treble. Ange has changed his tactics. He's no longer all out attack, and so he's completely in the dark. So it's all going to come as a bit of a shock to him when he comes in.
No, well, look, as far as that goes, I have seen this. I've seen the league table, and I have watched some channels and seen some general takeaways around what's going on. And from what I gather, as usual, nothing changes in the Tottenham community, guys. Some people feel like we're, a couple of little tweaks, a little bit of practice away from being title contenders, and other people would have you believe that we're relegation fodder and Ange out, and there's a massive middle road in between, which is obviously the area that we're trying to fill in. And we're going to find that today. We're going to find out what's going on between, with your thoughts on the start of the season, the transfer window, how it's finished relative to other teams, what's going on with the Arsenal game coming up, how do we feel about that? But before we get into that, let me just run through and say hello to a few people that have joined us in the comments, because I missed all you lot as much as anybody else. So Tony's good to see you, mate. Daniel as well. Finn Rickwood saying, Sean, it's great to have you back. It's good to see you, Finn. Good to see you, Lukey. Dean Law. Great to see you, Paul, Oliver, Roy, still a member. I'm surprised anyone's still a member, given I haven't put any content out in nearly 3 months. But really appreciate your loyalty, my man. Mike Walters, Val Korea, the Grand Potato, Matheson, Inner Coma, LV, Spurs GC team, another member still. Dave Nicholas, Dean Laws become a member again. Derek Smith, thank F for that. Appreciate you, mate. Sean is back. I really appreciate that, Dean. Very nice to you, man. Very, very much appreciated. No need. Absolutely no need. I wouldn't do anything until I've proven that I'm back just yet. We're going to wait and see what happens with these little gits out in Israel or Russia or wherever they are that are doing what they're doing to me. LV, Sabello, Kamalo, Sean is back. Blackazini, good to see you guys. Good to see you, Davey boy. Great to see you, mate. I just spoke to you on the WhatsApp. Good to have you, man. I'll be back with the Devil's Advocate this week. Hopefully, if you boys are okay with that. Let's see, Mark, Woodhouse, Destiny, Paul, Antonio, Luke. You're all here. Nige, still a member, mate. Very nice of you. Axe Teros, Matthew, Drew Zilla. What's going on, Drew? Good to see you, mate. Great to see you, buddy. Nige is still here. You've been a member for 14 months, 2 months of which I've not done anything. I feel bad. I feel terrible. I'm going to make it up to you all. I'm going to make it up to you. Let me zoom through and just get into this because I don't want to waste too much time. I want to capture everyone's takes, but I want to say thank you very much. What's going on, Jacob? Great to see you, my man. It's great to have you back in my life. I've missed you, mate. I've missed your dulcet tones. I'm going to be listening to you tonight, hopefully. You send me off to a nice little sleep every evening. Alan Cheatham.
Is that a compliment?
No, it is. He's got his dulcet tones are so like the mellifluous tones of Jacob. They're unbelievable. Unbelievable soothsayers is what they are. Petro42, Eugene's in the house. Good to see you, Eugene. I hope you're okay, mate. Joe, Niall, Higgins, James. Who else we got? Jerry. Oh, sorry, Gary, Paul Speed. Good to see you, mate. Colin's in the house. Good to see you, Colin. As is Lewis, Brian Timlin. What's happening, Brian? Good to see you, mate. RBT. Anyway, listen, I'm gonna get to business, guys. It's wonderful to see you all. I appreciate you all hanging around, and those of you that reached out to me. It's been a real tough couple of months, but listen, it is what it is. We're not going to dwell on it. We got things to talk about, and it's not who cares about this stuff in my life. Let's talk about Tottenham, and let's talk about it right now. Henry, I'm going to start with you, mate. Oh Jesus! Before I get there, Jesus, Box Kev, my man. Welcome back, Sean. You were missed and needed in the community. I appreciate that. I really appreciate your donation, Box Kev. Very, very generous of you, buddy. I'll tell you why. One of the consequences of the one thing I will tell you is one of the consequences of this drama is, unfortunately, my marketing agency is basically been shut down as a consequence of it. The collateral fallout is pretty toxic, and it is what it is. Like, I can start a new marketing agency tomorrow. When I'm free of the problems, I can start again and get going. It's not a problem. It's not so much of a long-term issue, but the pain was there in the short term. So a donation like that from you, Box, is Kev is very generous, my man. You don't need to do it. No one ever does, but I appreciate it more than you know at this moment. It's been a pretty expensive summer, as I'm sure you guys can imagine. Guys, let's get into it. Guys, I want to say massive thank you. Oh, hang on. There's some others. There's also one from Louise. Good to see you, Louise. Can't believe my lunch hour coincided with your return. Welcome back, Sean. Well, I appreciate that, Louise. Well, you must be in America then if it's your lunch hour.
Well, it's 7 o'clock here. It's got to be America. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're having a nice sandwich.
Probably New York.
A mega gulp. I don't know what it is, where you are, and what it is you're going to chow down on. But I hope you enjoy yourself. And I'm very, very grateful for your donation, Louise. Thank you very much. Keep going. Phil P's in the house as well. Pray for Sean. Pray for Henry's barber.
Woo!
Big up, Phil P, mate. Hope you well.
Wait, what was that film that was set in Glasgow in the 90s? It was like a pop.
You're not talking about the one where the drug addict one.
Yeah.
It'll come to me.
Henry sort of like reminds me a little bit of the main guy. Like, who's that?
Yeah,
cheers, mate.
Who you mean?
Train spotting, exactly.
Train spotting.
Yeah, you're looking a bit like the man from Train Spotting. Yeah, there we go.
The guy was Henry came on here looking forward to coming back, and all he's done is been.
Listen.
I've got pretty thick skin. Sean knows this. I don't care about if someone takes piss out my haircut.
Oh, no. It's not the haircut, mate. It's not the haircut. No, I love it, mate. I love it. Listen, I want to say massive thank you to everyone who's stopping by. Henry, let's start with you, mate. What is going on with Tottenham start to the window, mate? Start to the season. We're 4 points from 9, an unenthusiastic draw, missed chances against Leicester. Smashed Everton, should have probably got a point or maybe even 3 against Newcastle. How are you feeling about our start to the season so far?
I think the Tottenham fan base at the moment is more divided than it's ever been on Ange, on the tactics, on the players, on this and that. The Leicester game was kind of like, I felt the first half we were really good. We were playing some great stuff. And then it kind of felt like second half, we didn't really learn a lot throughout pre-season. And then we just kind of, you can't leave a player like Jamie Vardy, even at 37, 38 years of age, in and around the penalty area unmarked. Typical defensive errors. We go into the Everton game. We absolutely blitz them, which we should. They're a poor side, Everton. I actually think that this could be the one year they could actually go down. And then the Newcastle side, just the same old, not taking our chances, creating so much. We're lacking a killer instinct in front of goal. And then in terms of Ange, I don't think defensively we're going to change much. If you look at our defenders individually, they are good defenders. A lot of Premier League teams would snap up our back line. But playing together as a unit, we can't keep clean sheets for toffee. We've had 4 in our last 35 games. And that's not me saying I'm Ange out. That's not me saying I'm against this regime. But there's an awful lot of data and stats against Ange right now that, how do I say it, not on Ange's side. Like in the last 35 games, we've conceded more goals than we've scored.
That's a season's. That's basically a season's worth, and we've got a net negative goal difference, right?
Yeah, essentially, and it kind of feels like towards the back end of last season, I think it's fair to say we have improved a bit on set pieces. At one point, we were conceding like 2 set pieces a game, but there's glaring issues for me in the attack. The attack has to be fixed. Like the Ange at the moment is so focused on our chance creation, creating the best possible chances, but the only sort of attack we've got at the moment is getting down to the byline and putting a low cross into the box. We don't ever let a shot fly from outside the box anymore. And I know that's kind of like, it's more robotic, tactical style football because of what the likes of Ancelotti, Klopp and Guardiola have brought in. But there just seems to be, in transition, we are brilliant on the counter-attack. But there's a blueprint out there on how to beat us now. And it's sit back and counter-attack. Because when we go up against low blocks last season, how many games were won or lost at the very last minute? Or if you look at the last 5 minutes of games last year, or in the last year, we've either won or lost so many points. So my question is to everyone is, how do we counteract teams' counters? Because we all crying out for a DM in the summer. We all thought bringing a solid number 6 that can play there, whether that's Archie Gray, whether that's Bissouma, whether that's Bentancur. We did very well in terms of getting rid of a lot of the deadwood. I think we sold something like 13 players in the end, or got rid of 13 players off the books. The transfer window, again, did we do enough? I was relatively happy. I thought Solanke would do well, but there's a huge question mark, especially on that left-hand side of defence. If Udogie gets an injury, who's the backup left back? If Van De Ven's hamstring goes, can Radu Dragusin cut it? We're going to have 56 games this season. 56 games, roughly, if we get to the quarterfinals of the League Cup and FA Cup, which you expect us to, and to get to the last 16 quarterfinals of the Europa League. That's 16 games
versus 40.
That's
41. 41 last year. The least amount.
16 game swing. And when you look at that left-hand side, like for instance, hypothetically, if Van De Ven and Udogie were out for the North London derby, who would we play at left back and left side?
Exactly. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment, Henry. We've said it every year. The fact of the matter is, Henry, the fact that we've waited 1 year to address the left back, left centre back position for backup, and we haven't addressed it, is a massive, massive oversight. I feel like we have this conversation every year. We're one injury away from disaster, right?
Yeah.
And at left back and at left centre back, it's a glaring miss. And I believe the same with the goalkeeper. I mean, can you imagine if Vicario gets injured and we have to put the tree in goal for too many games? I mean, we all remember him trying to save those penalties against Fulham at the beginning of last season. It was an embarrassment. But just going back to what Henry was going on about shooting and being predictable, and we are totally predictable. Against, I think it was Everton or Newcastle. I think it was Newcastle. We had 11 shots from outside the box. The most we've had, probably that's the most combined. 11 out of our 20 shots were from outside the box. Probably the most we've had for the whole of last season combined. But
and doing that at St James's Park is no mean feat, right? They're not like they're no mugs up there. It's a very difficult place to play.
Correct, but the thing is about football is, at the end of the day, when you look back in history, it's all about the final score, And we tried hard, we did this, we did that, but fundamentally, it's about putting the ball in the back of the net, and we're struggling to do it. And I don't think the balance is right. I agree with Henry. It's not right up front. And I don't think it's right at the back. For all our chances we had at Newcastle, and we had plenty, every time that they put that ball over the top and sucked us in, we look vulnerable. And, before the game, people asked me what I thought the score was going to be. And I actually predicted a 2-1 to Newcastle, purely based on the fact that, they had Isak, Barnes and Gordon. And I think they'd be exploiting that pace. And I think this is going to happen again and again and again. If you think about all the speed merchants that we got to cover going into the league this season, and if we're missing, are we really saying that if we're missing Micky Van De Ven, that we're exposed? Because we are.
It sounds like
we are. Well, no team. Listen, I've been a massive advocate of three at the back, because I believe that all three centre-backs, Dragusin, Micky Van De Ven and Romero, all like to come forward. We've got that cover at the back, and they can still come forward. I don't think we lose anything in our attack. But I think
the problem is, though, Johnny, the problem is if we went to a three at the back, we'd have no backup centre-back.
Yeah, well, we have got them. It's just he signs them and he doesn't want to play them, right? I mean,
let me ask you this, right? So Newcastle last year, Newcastle dominated us, embarrassed us at their place, right? And last year we played Everton at home, and I forget the scoreline, but I don't think it was as one-sided as it was this year. Obviously, the Leicester game didn't happen last year. Leicester away, a little bit. I'm not going to call them a bogey team, but they're a team that kind of that turn up against us at their end, at their ground. But on a kind of net over the two games that you can remember and measure, Newcastle away, Everton at home, there has been a net better performance that have come with a little bit more experience playing Ange, right?
I think they're. I mean, I don't know what Henry thought, but I thought Leicester were absolutely poor. They were poor, and Everton was shocking, absolutely shocking. They offered.
We should have been 3-0 up against Leicester in 20 years.
I mean, look, these games should have been put to bed. I don't really want to listen to the excuses, right? There shouldn't be any excuses, right? We've been working on it all summer. They had time to get him in, getting Solanke in at the death. He should have been in there. If you want Solanke, you're paying the money. Get him in at the start of the season, start of their pre-season. Get him to work with the players. I don't want to hear that, we had to pay the money in the end. In other words, we dragged our feet and we had to pay the money in the end. And we brought him in late and he had no time to gel with anybody.
What's your thoughts on that signing? I obviously, all of this stuff, I've got my thoughts on it, but I haven't had a chance to share them. But I also haven't heard anyone's on a conversation that I've had. So, in terms of Dominic Solanke, record signing for Tottenham, obviously got injured in his debut or whatever. He hasn't played since. Hopefully back for Arsenal. Do you guys share my optimism? I was someone that was all last year when in January there was the links to him, and then throughout the second half of the season, I was someone that on my walks in the morning I was like, can I understand the reasons for it? I can understand the reasons against it. I can understand why. It's one of those signings where anyone's opinion is kind of valid, depends on the price. The price turns out to be a record signing. Does he represent Tottenham's most record signing ever, or is it just a consequence of the fact that the numbers in the game have just moved so that the line has crossed our record signing and he doesn't really represent record?
It's a number of different factors. Like the harsh reality is, if we would have paid 20 million more, I know it's a big if, you're talking about someone like Victor Gyökeres.
Well, I would have bought him. That would have been my first choice.
You're talking about 80 goal contributions in something like 68 games. In his last 68 games, something like 80 goal contributions. Already on nearly double digits in 3 or 4 games in Portugal.
15 goal contributions, I think, in the first.
His numbers are absolutely stupid. If you're talking 70, 80, 90 million pounds, you maybe even teased Julian Alvarez away from City. The problem we've got is we should have got Dominic Solanke done. If he was the main target, which is what all the reports are coming out, he should have been signed in the first week of the window.
100%.
And not to be disrespectful but it's not a difficult deal for Tottenham to do to get a player from Bournemouth, is it? I get it. I get it. He was their star player, but at the same time, it's a player from
English,
Bournemouth.
homegrown.
It's not like we're
20% of the money goes to Liverpool.
Chelsea, is it?
Correct.
Like he does tick a lot of the boxes in terms of his play style. He presses from the front, which is what Ange wants. He's very good in around 6 to 10 yards out, which is exactly what Ange wants. And you saw that in the Leicester game. We created 3 or 4 chances for him. On another day, he puts it in the back of the net. However, Ange Postecoglou now is at 385 million euros. Since he's been at Spurs, he's spent more than any other manager in the league. Because Chelsea have had 2 different in terms of.
Wow.
I know Chelsea have done £1 billion.
He spent more than Chelsea. He says more than a manager.
Net.
Yeah, more a manager. So like Chelsea have had 3 managers under Clear Lake at Chelsea, but the no one can, whether the players are good enough is a different question. But Daniel Levy has given him a lot of money so far, and we've spent 50 million on Johnson, 60 million on Solanke, 60 million on Richalison before that. That's 180 million pound on 3 players that. Solanke's the only one at the moment. Brennan Johnson, I have never seen a player that is so hated and adored at the same time in this fan base.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like Brennan Johnson. I can see potential in him, but at some point the potential has to catch up, and you don't have that long to figure it out. I've worked in companies before where you can see the timeline that's offered new employees to show what they're worth is super. Like, you got to hit the ground running, and I'm not sure Brennan Johnson's hitting it quickly enough to maintain the patience that are in it that's in him. But some have. I personally think he has a lot of potential, but at some point there has to be a little bit more end product, and the same goes for most of the players in the front line. For me, obviously Dominic Solanke. We'll wait and see what happens. He's got a longer rope than most, but at the same time, there's a lot of pressure on him, Johnny.
There's loads. I mean, look, the thing is, we know Ange's game already. We don't need to say anything. We know he wants a winger to run down to the line, cut the ball back, always low, and he wants a striker who's going to run into the box and tuck it away. All right, that's what he wants. He wants Kygo. And what's his name? The winger that ended up in Saudi Arabia that was at Celtic. Jota. Right? That's what he wants. He wants to replicate that. Well, that's great. But what is your alternative? Football's about, I was talking about this before. Glenn Hoddle was an unbelievable player, right? Would he have thrived in an Ange system? Would he have been given the freedom? I think players sometimes need to have the freedom to express themselves, to think out the box. And sometimes I think when you have systems that are so rigid that you can't come out of those systems, I think that's what's happened to Spurs some of the time. This overplaying of the football to try and keep to the system and the way of playing. And I just think, don't always cross the ball low. cross the ball high. Don't always do that. Shoot from outside the box. Try to do 1-2s and get inside the box. Try and mix it up. And I feel even after, and I just, Gary O'Neill exposed us on Monday Night Football, showed us how he beat Spurs, and then he went ahead and did it again, right? And a lot of people followed that blueprint. And quite honestly, I don't at this stage. We're only 3 games in, so we can't judge. But at this stage now, the jury's out. We're playing an Arsenal team on Sunday, with no Rice, no Calafiori, probably no Odegaard.
No Marino
either. Injured. No Marino. So there can be no excuses.
It's still a good side, though. Like defensively,
100%.
They are very good.
Yeah, but listen, we don't want to listen to excuses, right? We need to concentrate on us as a football team. And, we're always the team that, we go to play X team and we're missing this player and that player. We had it all last season. So I'm not going to feel sorry when we actually come to play the likes of Arsenal and they're missing a few players. We have to win on Sunday because I fear, having watched a very poor Leicester and a very poor Everton team and what happened, against Newcastle, that we have to beat them because I just think that this fan base is just so ready to turn. I'm forgiving Ange time. I think there's a lot of issues that I'm not happy with. You've only got to voice those opinions. I'm sure you've heard it yourself, Henry. When you start questioning things, you're Ange out. No, it's part of what we do.
You can critique without being Ange.
You can't apparently.
This Arsenal game.
Yeah.
I think the front three they'll play will be Raheem Sterling on the as a false 9, Gabriel Martinelli, and Bukayo Saka. And what do all 3 of those players have in common?
Pace.
Right. And then they'll probably play Kai Havertz in the 10, and it will be one of Partey or it will probably be Partey. And I imagine I've got a feeling he'll bring Zinchenko into the middle, right? What Zinchenko will do will give them control. What they will be prepared to do is give Tottenham all the ball. We'll have 60-70% possession, and then Kai Havertz, one ball over the top. We saw it last season, one ball over to Saka. And the problem we've got is, in the wide areas against Newcastle, when we had Hojbjerg or Son, in a 1v1, it's great. But what teams are doing is doubling up against us.
Correct.
And there's no plan B, like Johnny said. It is great. When Ange ball comes off, it's fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
But isn't that what you want, Henry? Just quickly, isn't like you want your wide men to be doubled up on so that forces them to come inside and give the ball to someone like James Maddison who's got pace and space. Sorry, not pace, space.
Yeah, no, 100% sure. 100% sure. If you've got other options and other means of playing the game. But
we do, right? But we do. If James Maddison has an extra 2 yards because there's 2 men, there's a left back or a right back, and one of the midfield 3 or whatever, or the wing forward that's coming back and doubling up on Hojbjerg or whoever, then
he's throwing space.
You're giving up an extra couple of yards to James Maddison, right? So you need James Maddison then to take advantage.
When Maddison gets on the ball, it's just passed sideways.
Okay, so is Maddison started the season? Is he underperformed in the start of the season in your eyes?
It's not necessarily underperformed. I don't think the system gets the most out of James Maddison. Porro and Udogie's positions in the 3 games we've been played have been 10 to 15 yards in front of Maddison. Maddison's our 10. Madison's the one where you get on the ball and go, he can pick the lock. If you watch when Odegaard gets on the ball, Kevin De Bruyne or Dominic Szoboszlai, the wide players immediately stretch the pitch. Then a Trent Alexander-Arnold or Porro will come in to have that man open, and then a wide player makes you run in the box. We get the ball. Maddison, it's like left or right, passes to Son. Son goes to take on the man in a 1v1. Then he gets doubled up on. Son will then pass it back to Maddison. Maddison will put a cross in the box. Johnny's absolutely bang on the money. When it comes down to that wide play, it can be fantastic. But when it doesn't work, it's like we're scratching our heads going, oh, and this Arsenal game, I can't, we're only 3 games in. If we lose the Arsenal game, we then go Coventry away, which I don't think there'd be huge confidence in the fan base after losing the North London derby. We've got Man United away and we've got the start of a Europa League campaign. I said it to you earlier on the phone. This Arsenal game, if we win, would give us huge confidence for the remainder of the month. If we lose it, you know for a fact it's going to be Levy out. Ange, I'm not sure what Levy, like, we spent £130 million. We spent...
By the way, just quickly, I hate to say I told you so, but everyone was picking numbers out of thin air all summer. I remember all the way through May and June, I was saying it's going to be net spend, give or take, £120 million plus or minus 10 million. Like,
yeah, you're bang on, but we spent a lot of money now.
No, we spent net figure, Sean. Net figure, it's about 60, 70 million.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is what I was told May when I told.
I thought we spent more than £120 million in gross, didn't we?
Yeah, but we got
about 140 million. We did. With Gray for 40 million, Hojbjerg for 28, and Dominic Solanke for around 57 before add-ons.
Yeah, we got add-ons. Listen, look, the thing is, for me, James Maddison, I want my number 10 to dominate the game. I want him calling for the ball, and I don't want him picking up the ball behind the rest of the team. He's not a deep line playmaker. He needs to be tucked in behind that front three, trying to break the lines with his passing. And it's just not happening enough. Look, 4 goals last season. I'm sure we'd all agree that isn't enough. Forget the injuries, right? He played enough games. I think he played 28 games or more. Let's hope he can step up, because there are players who are looking to get involved. I mean, Kulu had a very good game for Sweden, captain, playing in that midfield role. I always thought, I've got to be honest with you, when Ange came, that he had to play in the midfield. I kept going on. And quite honestly, I think he really disappointed me. I didn't feel that when Maddison was out injured last season, he grabbed the position with both hands. But I think, I've seen signs that maybe he can. And Bergvall, for me, has definitely got something about him. He progresses the ball much quicker. And I think, if Maddison doesn't start producing in that final third, then, he might find himself on the bench. But we really need him to step up on Saturday and be influential. There's a bunch of kids in there, in that team. Who's going to be the leader? Who is going to be, there's no Hojbjerg anymore. Who's going to be that person who's going to lead from that midfield?
Let me press pause on that for 1 second, Johnny, because that's where I was going to go next. We've got this nucleus now we've got such transition away from the deadwood. We're going to talk about the kind of the transfer window. I want to get your thoughts on just a net, whether you're happy or not around, because obviously there's 2 ways you can look at it. That the incomings maybe a little bit underwhelming, didn't quite solve everything. The outgoings, I think everyone should be quite fairly happy, at least on paper, with the amount of transition of the deadwood out. But we've replaced a lot of the old with the new, and the new is also incredibly nucleus. It's incredibly young. It's incredibly, potential based rather than obvious answers. And I want to get your thoughts on some of the players that, like Pape Sarr, some of the young that were here last season, plus the ones we brought in. But before we do, there's a bunch of super chats I just want to run through, guys, and just want to say hello to these guys. Tom Martin, member for 8 months. Really appreciate you, mate. Like, dude, you've hung around in my absence, and I really appreciate that support, mate, and loyalty. You didn't need to, but like the rest of you guys, I really appreciate it. You're saying welcome back, Sean. Had to resort to watching Henry.
Cheers, mate. Much appreciated.
Good. It's great to see you, mate. Let me see. Where else did I get to? We got Spurs GCTV saying, wish you could be more, mate, but glad to see you looking well. And of course, come on, you Spurs. Appreciate you, mate, very much. Thank you very much, mate. Very generous. That you, like, honestly, at the moment, I really, really do appreciate the super chats, but I would never, ever ask and never, ever command them. But I appreciate the generosity, mate. It really means a lot. Tom's come back in saying, great to have you back, Sean. Appreciate you, Tom, very much. PG, new member, my man. Thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate you. Good to see Ian Taylor saying another really generous donation. Thank you so much, Ian. Glad you're back, mate. I'm glad I'm back as well, mate. It's nice to, you know what, even we've been doing it for 35 minutes, and it's just nice to have something else to think about. I shouldn't really have let this this part of my life go for the last couple of months because I miss it so much. But it's you know what, it is what it is. Bad decisions along the way. Morton Barley, great to see you, man. Great to see you. Extremely glad to see you return, my friend. Appreciate you, Mort. Great to see you, my man. Thank you so much for the generosity. The GOAT is back, says JC Flores. Thank you very much. Member for 7 months. Another loyal guy who's hung around through my absence. I won't let you guys down again. I'm going to be here now as long as I can. As long as I have access, I will be delivering the content. Starting with the Devil's Advocate, which I hope, if Johnny's okay with it, and Dave, who I know was watching earlier, is around, we can do that this week at some point. Because the Devil's Advocate is usually on some point between a Monday and a Friday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Who else we got? Ruth Spur, new member for Ruth Spur. Thank you so much, Ruth Spur. Great to see you, my man. Hope you're okay out in Australia. It's great to see you. SOF, good to see you, buddy. Great to see you back, Sean. Looking lean as well. We need your views with all that's going on in the fan base. Yeah, listen, I don't really have strong views at the moment. I feel like I haven't had a chance to really absorb. So that's why I wanted to get these two on tonight to get the kind of flow, because I know they're balanced as anybody that I know in the community is. These guys, they're happy to give their take, but they're happy to acknowledge both sides of the argument. So that's why I wanted to bring them on. Thank you very much, SOF. Saba, I appreciate the raid, my man. It's great to see you. I don't have your number, mate, so I'll find a way to reach out to you after the show. I've lost all the numbers. Everyone whose number I had, I've lost. So if I haven't reached out to you, it's not because I don't like you. It's because I've lost all the numbers in this process. Great to see you back, Sean.
You've been missed. There.
What's that?
It there. Savas hit it there. If we lose on Sunday, it's the worst run of form from any Spurs manager since one day Ramos.
Wow.
One day, Ramos.
Yeah. One day we'll be back winning. One day we'll be back winning.
One day.
Yeah, one day. One day soon. Yeah. Geez, Sav. Listen, I mean, I haven't had too much time to look into your content, mate, but I'm guessing I know the way you're interpreting it, mate. I'll take a check into your channel after the show and see what your thoughts are. But I'll get you on as well this week if you're around, mate. Thank you very much for the super chat. DG, hope you were on vacation. Missed you in the feed. No, I wasn't on vacation. Well, I mean, no, I wasn't on vacation, mate. Other things taken up my mindset. But appreciate you for the super chat, buddy. El Dente, member for 4 months. Welcome back, Sean, you legend. 4 months, a member, half of which I haven't been here. That's loyalty. I really appreciate you. And Lee Harvey, new member. I really appreciate you as well, Lee. Thanks very much. Let's crack on with the show, guys. Let me start with you on this one, Johnny. The youth that we've signed. Talk to me about the young fella, the left winger, Hojbjerg. Talk to me about. You mentioned the Swedish, my man, Bergvall. How have they started? What about the young lad from Leeds? How many minutes have they had? What have they done in first team football? How are they sort of settling in well? Are you impressed? Are you worried? What's your thoughts?
Listen, I'm a little bit concerned. I've got to be honest with you. I think I said to you at the end of last season, the Manchester City rant by Ange was nothing to do with fans supporting Manchester City. It was to do with the fact that he'd been told from above to embrace the youth, which he wasn't doing. And suddenly he started playing Mikey Moore and he was given Donnelly games. And we heard the rhetoric coming out of Spurs when they took the kids on tour. You know, we had no defence. We had Archie Gray playing at centre-back with Oliver Skipp. Really great for the season ahead. Great preparation. Not. He was singing the virtues of Bergvall and Archie Gray, saying how wonderful they are. So, you know, and we could see that. We could see the reason why he was saying that. But the reality, I think, is somewhat different. And Archie Gray didn't even get a minute against Newcastle. And I do worry. You know, that game, you could see Kulu, who looked absolutely out on his feet that last 15 minutes. His passing in that last 15 minutes was absolutely abysmal. You know, bring on Archie Gray. Just bring him on for a
what game? What game was this, Johnny? You're talking about?
This was against Newcastle. There were moments in the game when we had runners left and right, and he just couldn't make the right decision. And
has Archie Gray had any minutes at all in the first?
He has had minutes, but they're not minutes enough for him to influence a game. And the fact that he got no minutes against Newcastle was kind of baffling. I've got to be honest with you. Bergvall, Maddison played very well in the first half for Tottenham, and then he started to fade. And I'm thinking, when they brought on Hall and Tonali, the whole game changed. Huh?
One on the game. Them changes one on the game.
Correct. And Ange never made the move, right? And I'm thinking, you got to bring off Maddison. He's on a yellow. Bissouma's on a yellow. Bring on Gray. Bring on Bergvall. They'll move the ball quickly. Quick legs. He didn't react quickly. Bergvall came on far too late. Archie Gray never got on at all. And, I just wonder, really, I don't believe that Ange is here for youth. Yes, the team is much younger, but if you believe in them, if you believe in these players, we signed them 40 something million pound. Why isn't he getting a minute?
Johnny, can I ask you something?
Go on.
And it's a bit of a controversial.
Sorry, Henry, just quickly before you do, guys in the chat, like I know there's been a little bit of like drama as there usually is in the Tottenham community. Checkmate. Like sort of comeback show, bro. I don't know what's going on. Can we not talk about things that are happening on other channels? Like,
yeah, there's a time and a place.
Not tonight, mate. Not tonight.
Not tonight, Josephine. Go on, Henry.
Time and a place. And yeah, now is not that.
No.
The question I was going to ask, everyone can answer in the chat as well. Do you think Ange will be here by Christmas?
Look, I've got to be honest with you. Right? I would love it if he turns this around and he makes a success of it. I think, I'm one of these people who, I know people won't accept this, but I'm here to criticise Ange when I think he's got it wrong. But that is like your Ange out. I want him to succeed, but I fear that this inability to change could cause him a real problem. I really do. This defensive setup, I mean, that clip from Football Manager 2025 yesterday, when he said he wishes he could play 11 attackers in every game, but unfortunately he has to think about defence. That sort of summed it up for me.
Who said that?
Ange did when the football manager conference, the game, Football Manager.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I, maybe people will say it was tongue in cheek, but I believe that's his ethos. Look, there's a reason why Pep Guardiola evolves, and he's the number one, because every season he changes things, right? He doesn't have
every 3 or 4 months he changes it.
Yeah, he doesn't have one system, and for me, Ange has a system, and he's going to die on that hill. I don't have a problem him having a system, but come on, Ange, right? You're in the big league now, playing with the big boys. Sometimes when you're playing with the bigger boys, right? Listen, when I used to go and
you got to keep
them
guessing, right, Johnny? You got to keep them guessing a little bit. You got to have something else up your sleeve, otherwise it's predictable.
Change it. Listen, look. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Like, Arteta, when he went to Manchester City, City had a lot of injuries. Everyone thought that Arsenal were going to come out and go at them. And what did they do? They did the complete opposite. And they sat back and tried to play on the counter-attack. And it ended up in a draw, which ended up costing them the title. But what I'm saying is mixing it up for the opposition. When Ange says he's got no interest in the opposition, he will play his game no matter who they're playing with. I find that really strange because, we all know, like, for example, if I'm going into a fight, if I'm a boxer, it's an analogy, it's not quite the same, but if I'm going for a fight and I'm fighting this guy called Alcaraz, and my manager comes up and says to me, I'll show you the videos, and they go, I don't need to see the videos. I'll fight my fight. Yeah, but he's a southpaw.
He's
He's a
style,
southpaw.
yeah.
He's a southpaw. Oh, I don't care about that. He's a southpaw. He fights from long range. I don't care. I'm going to fight my fight. That for me is not
that
professional.
only works, right? But that only works if you are a master, or at least if you have mastered your own version of football
with your team.
With your team, and your team is good enough to be able to outplay the opposition. And I don't believe that Tottenham under Ange yet, but I'm not in any way Ange out. I'm not even worried. Like I'm happy to see this thing play out. But I have to acknowledge that I feel like the idea that we are playing one way of football and we will outplay you at that version of football, that's fine as long as you have absolute obscene confidence in that version of football. And I don't really feel like I've seen enough excellence at it.
The thing I've shared, Sean, that's our next 8 games. The page down the bottom. Just to if you could just quickly bring that up, I just want to. So North London derby for me, this is a make or break game for both Arsenal and Spurs, because if Arsenal lose, City will 100% beat Brentford, and Liverpool will 100% beat Forest. And then they could be out of the title race by the next game, which Arsenal play City in. With us, I don't think the entire fan base would have huge confidence if we lost against Arsenal going in and then beating Coventry. Brentford at home, I think everyone at this moment in time would say we would beat Brentford. But if those 2 results don't go to plan, Brentford at the moment are above us in the league. Buemo's on fire. We then start our Europa League campaign against Karabag, which we should blitz them. Then we could be looking at an El Sakiko already with Erik ten Hag. And every time Erik ten Hag, he manages to somehow pull something out of the bag. And then our next Premier League game is Brighton. And they should have beaten Arsenal. So this Arsenal game, I don't think people know the magnitude of how big it is.
Who the hell is Ferencváros?
Ferencváros. They're Hungarian.
Team.
Hungarian.
Sounds like one of my cousin's friends.
Yeah, goulash eaters.
I'm pretty sure I dialed her on Viva Street a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, one of these ladies of the night. She turned up and polished a whistle. But anyway, you look at these fixtures. This Arsenal game is absolutely massive. If we get a positive result, I believe we'll go and beat Coventry, Brentford, and Karabag.
Yeah.
If we have a 3-1 or a 3-0 defeat, we could spiral out of control. This fixture reminds me of the Conte game at the stadium where we beat them 3-0. Everything was riding on that. But the thing is, we're only 3 bloody games into the season. 3 games. And if we
should
lose
have 9 points, shouldn't we, Henry? We should have 9 points. Yeah. We should be sitting here saying, what amazing start to the season. I think there has to be a balance here.
Wait, are you basing that, Johnny, on the fact that you think that we outplayed Leicester, Everton, and Newcastle?
We did. We outplayed. We were the better team in all 3 games.
That in and of itself should be a reason, something to hang on to, right?
There's a positive.
We're not far away from. If we can just get that last little piece of the puzzle, then we're not far away, right? To go to Newcastle, and then in your guys' estimation, as I say, I didn't watch the game, I couldn't see it. But I've seen the general takes from people in the community that at least a point, if not 3, were there for the taking. That's a massive shift from last season when we got absolutely outplayed, thoroughly outclassed by Newcastle, a really good team at their own ground. So are we not throwing the baby out with the bathwater a little bit here? Maybe thinking that it's all, if Arsenal goes the wrong way, then it's time to throw the.
It's not all negative. Sean, let's balance this off, right? No, Micky Van De Ven would have made the difference, right? But then I'm going to counter that with saying to you...
And Solanke.
Yeah, but I'm going to counter that with saying, should we really be a club that with one player out, the whole system falls apart? And the answer's got to be no, right? Okay, none of that.
There's a lot of teams who lose. I mean, I would make the argument that Micky Van De Ven is the most important player in Tottenham's team, right?
Well, in that system, maybe. But yes, there were lots of. If
you were to take Rodri out of Manchester City, yeah, they're a different team. If you take, I don't know,
look at Arsenal though. Arsenal going to the game with no Rice.
There's a lot of teams that you take out their best player and they're not quite the same.
Yeah, you're very, very true. But Arsenal will still go in with the same game plan and believe they can win without two of them three main midfielders. If you took two of our three backline out, two of our four back, if this game, for instance, if we didn't have Romero or Porro, we'd all be going, God, Jesus Christ, I'm not confident.
Yeah.
Arsenal are going to be without their creative source and their best player of last year in Declan Rice.
And Timber.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
that's what I mean. So Tottenham, but like that's swings and roundabouts. Like I would love it if I personally would love to see a situation. I know it's dream world scenario, but I think the best way to gauge how a team is to see your best 11 at their best against another team's best 11 at their best, and then see what happens. Right. But it doesn't work out that way. You can't. That's that's just a make believe scenario. You have to take the bitter with the better when it comes to injuries. Arsenal might be without Declan Rice and Odegaard and the like, but that's a reason to think that we should be able to go into this game with a bit more confidence than it sounds like you guys have
100%. But if we 100%. Lose the game, it's even worse because Arsenal have beaten us without their strongest team, and they're even talking about putting Wanyeri in midfield, who's 17. Like, Arsenal are scratching their head at the moment, going, like, not in terms of they don't think they're going to get the result.
Arsenal are worried right now. Arsenal are worried that
they could be. If Martin Odegaard has torn his ligaments in his ankle, which is what the rumor is, he'll be out for 3 months. That's like us when we lost Van de Ven and Maddison. It was a kick in the nuts.
And Romero, we lost 5 players in that Chelsea game. Look. The thing is, the optimism after that. Look, the Chelsea game. The Leicester game. Leicester created nothing. They had, I think, 2 chances the whole game. We had chance after chance after chance. We'd have been out of sight. But as Spurs fans, we're sitting there at half time and we're going, you can see what's going to happen here. They're going to get 1 chance and they're going to score.
2 shots. We had 21.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's laughable. We put that right against Everton. We took our chances and we buried them, but they offered nothing in return. And, I'm not going to, you cannot hide the fact that people seem to think, oh, yeah, we should have beat Newcastle. Yes, we should have scored many goals, but let's not forget how many times they broke our lines, Henry, in that game. And they could have buried us and caused us no end of trouble. So it's there. And as you quite rightly said, I reckon he's going to play the pace of Martinelli, Sterling, Havertz through the middle, probably as the false 9. They're going to use their pace because they know they play on the shoulder, suck us in, play on the counter attack, and attack us. We have to win this one. I think that we can beat them, and I do think with Solanke and Micky Van De Ven, please God,
they're
both
back,
fit.
Right? They're supposed to be back.
Please God, they're fit. Until I see them there, I won't believe they're back. But if they are back, there can be no excuses, and I do think that we will beat them. I do, and if we don't beat them, there could be a bit of uproar.
When we talk about the uproar, normally when there's uproar in this fan base, it's not necessarily the team or the manager; it's on Levy. Now, that when you look at the numbers, we have spent, I think I said earlier, what is it, 360 million euros?
Spent enough, Henry.
So there is no, Levy out, it's Levy's fault. Whether he's gone and bought, the required players for the system properly in terms of a backup left-sided player or a DM, like I said earlier, is a completely different argument. But we've spent money now. We spent more than Arsenal in the last 2 windows. So but
Arsenal
got themselves to the point where they are just now sprinkling the sugar on top, right? Whereas Tottenham.
Yeah, but let's not forget, Sean, we finished above them in that top 4 race. We beat them to Champions League under Conte. They've gone like that, and we've kind of slowly evened out, and now we're trying to get back up there. The problem is,
but we're like that. They were going through their rebuild during that period. Right? We're going through that now, and people will argue that it's done, but I'm not sure it is. I think that now,
Do you think, Henry? Do you think? And I worry is Ange Postecoglou's talent ID on par with Steve Hitchen? Because this is the most we've spent.
Yeah, but is Ange the guy who's picking the players?
Well, he said on an interview the other day, he's the one who decides the final call.
I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to go into players that he's refused, but there are players that were not top of his. No, but Eze was not.
No, well, you can allude to something. You can allude.
Well, listen.
You can leave it up to our imagination by telling us a little bit.
Listen, Sean. I can't say, but listen.
No.
But Eze is enough for you to be getting on with that. He wasn't. He wasn't any of his top picks.
How much was Eze going to cost?
68 million.
68, but that's the 8 million was
add-ons.
Was complete add-ons, and Spurs having to win titles and trophies.
So 60 million. So Solanke versus Eze was the option, sort of thing.
Yeah, but it's completely different though.
Why is it the option?
Eze was the release clause.
I'm saying that in terms of monetary value, what we spent on Solanke, we could have spent on Eze. But if you went after Eze, you didn't need to go after Bergvall, or you didn't need to go after Archie Gray, or whatever. You could have made other decisions. But we had the money for one of, but we decided to go for a striker rather than go for.
We went for Solanke because we only had to pay something like £9 million up front. The rest is done over the instalments. Whereas Eze had a release clause of. I think 60 million, but we would have had to pay 54 million of that release clause up front. Right?
So paying off Ndombele up front.
Listen, I don't want to dispel the myth, but that isn't correct. Okay.
You don't think that's correct?
No, I know it's not correct.
I know
it's not correct, Henry. I'll tell you afterwards. But basically, the thing is, it's installments. It's installments. But the thing is, are we a club? Are we going to be the nearly club? We got rid of 9 players. We all applaud getting rid of the Deadwood. Fantastic job getting rid of the Deadwood. But, why couldn't we go out, sign a left back or a left-sided centre-back, like a Hincapié, for example, show intent to buy a quality player that's going to challenge both Udogie and Micky Van De Ven, and buy an Eze, right? I mean, you talk about, Arsenal going out and buying Declan Rice because they needed it. I think Eze is all over a Spurs player. I think Hincapié is all over as the type of player that we needed. But we didn't. And we go into the season yet again.
So you're questioning more than just Ange's tactics. You're questioning Ange's approval.
No, what I'm saying to you is, Levy 100% believes in Ange, right? We know he does because he's given him more money than he's given anyone. And he hasn't released these purse strings like this since Steve Hitchen, right? When we bought Ndombele.
Let me jibe in with something I am confident on, which is the fact that we're signing players it's always a case of when you're signing young players, I always make this argument, there's that kind of, you have to reflect and remember that on average, a Premier League manager stays at a club for 18 months max, unless you are one of the few outliers that do brilliantly well, whatever. Most of the time, you've got an 18-month tenure. Most of the time, you're signing players on 4-year contracts. If they're youngsters, it's 5 or 6 year contracts. Tottenham have got an ethos of leaning towards the youth. So even if Ange isn't the guy, where there probably has been some compromise is Levy or whatever the club have said to Ange that these are the players that we're thinking of, whether it's, Mackenzie or, whoever it is in the background that have identified the players. Ange might have said yes or no to certain names, but the names that would have been presented to him were built on and around the methodology of the club, which seems to be youth-centric at the moment. So he might have said yes or no to certain players within a certain spectrum of what was afforded to him. And even if Ange isn't the guy to take us forward, even if Ange does get released of his contract by Christmas, like people are talking about, which for me is, but even if it does happen, the players that we've signed should be, they're not going to be dead. They're not going to be ducks, are they? They're not going to be like, sitting ducks that are going to be no use to the next manager. Most of the players we've signed have super high potential to be
100%.
utilised for future
Yeah,
managers,
for the youngsters. I mean, I said, Sean, that back in the day, I've always said to you all the way through this, I think we should back a manager 80%, and 20% should be one eye on the future development of the club in positions that we can clearly need, that we maybe don't have in the academy coming through, whether it be a centre-back or an attack or whatever, and to supplement them. Because, as you rightly say, if a manager leaves in 18 months, you don't want a whole pile of deadwood that no one ever wanted. But he's choosing...
Can I ask you both something?
Yeah.
When a manager comes into a football club, what's the first thing they do?
Demand players. Well, they analyse the group. They
analyse. And once they analyse, their goal is to make their team hard to beat, right? Doesn't matter who. Glasner did it with Palace.
Yeah,
Emery
he did a great job.
When you look at us right now, could you put your hand on your heart and say we are hard to beat?
No.
Right. Now, Arne Slot has been at Liverpool, and I know that
don't even get me going on Slot.
You can look at the difference of personnel he's got at his disposal, right? I don't know if you watched the Liverpool Man United game, Sean.
I watched all of them. Because I'm a massive Slot fan. I wanted Slot over them all. So
he's a very, very good tactician.
Yeah.
The difference between Erik ten Hag, who's on his third season, and Arne Slot, who was on his third game, you saw patterns of play from Slot. You saw an identity. With Ten Hag, it was all over the place. The point I'm alluding to right now is, are Tottenham hard to beat? Is the first question. You said no. I don't know what Sean's answer is. The second part of it is, with the amount of rotation we're going to have, how do we get to that point of where we are hard to beat? Because I think you can say about we're playing an Arsenal team that have got injuries. Arsenal are still going to go into that game, and they're still going to be clear favourites, even with the injuries they've got.
Yeah.
So how does that make us hard to beat?
I think hard to beat equals defensively resolute, right?
He's not going to change that, Sean.
No, exactly. His version of hard to beat is score more goals, right?
Score enough
goals.
Is that realistic though?
I mean, in this day and age, how many teams bang 3 or 4 goals in every game consistently? Not many, if any. And therefore, you do need to have that, if not unpredictability, you need to have a predictable defensive line, which I don't think we do. I still stand by the fact that, in my opinion, there's no difference between using the halfway line as your defensive quartet or dropping it 7-8 meters, but giving yourself a half a chance, unless you have the fastest players. And Dragusin isn't as fast as, for example, Sterling or Martinelli or Saka, and neither is Romero, neither is Pedro Porro, and Udogie is as well. But like, it's a little bit too gung ho for me. That doesn't need to be there. I don't think the kind of I don't think the value equals the cost on the kind of cost benefit analysis of having that halfway line being your offside trap.
Can I ask you a question, guys? I was just going to ask you a question. If you gave this back 4 to Mourinho or Conte, they would be having wet dreams, because I honestly believe, when we look at player for player, is Micky Van De Ven better than what we had at left centre back before? 100%. Is Udogie better than Ben Davies and what we had before? 100%, right? Is Porro better than what we had before? 100%. Is Vicario better than what we had before at the time? Yes. We've improved. Every single one of those elements individually is an improvement. Yet the collective, when we're watching it, does not feel like a Toby and a Yan defence. It doesn't feel anything like that.
Is it just the fact that we're using the halfway line as an offside trap? If we were to all just drop back, I don't personally see the value in using the halfway line. If anything, you know what? Some of the problems that Tottenham had last season were tactile players that have, the ability to shift their weight and fluctuate their spatial awareness it gets a little bit cramped when everyone is. I mean, I remember
it's
against
like Piccadilly Circus. It's like a
like
vacuum,
pigeons.
hermetically sealed box.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Whereas sometimes if the back line is dropped 5 yards and then their forwards obviously play onto that line, it just opens up a little bit more. And I think there's a benefit to it rather than a cost to it. I don't see the value in having us use the halfway line as the offside trap. Guys, before we carry on, I just want to catch up on some of the super chats that have slipped through the net here. And like the offside trap that we play sometimes.
I just want to ask Henry something afterwards. Go on.
Yeah, just give me a couple of seconds to catch up with people. I think where did I get to? Kulu's elusive right foot. This is I forget I know the man. He's always got. Who was it? I've not seen a 3 ball like this since. That one.
Oh yeah,
it's good to see you.
One, yeah.
Great panel. Good to have you back, Sean. Good to see you, my man. Frankly, Tottenham coming in with a cheeky 5 bolt, saying why can't we play 3-5-2? Udogie and Porro are wing backs in my mind. Bissouma in the 6 and Kulu and Maddison in the 8 and Sonny Solanke up front. Yeah, I'll ask the boys that in a second. Frank, good to see you, mate. Thank you very much. Let me put a star on that bad boy so I can come back to it. Kate's in the house as well. Oh, hang on a second. Wait, before I get to Kate. Brilliant to see you back, Sean. Trust you got all the crap sorted to your satisfaction. I haven't got anything sorted, mate. I've given up missing out on Tottenham chat in the process, but I'm trying my best to figure it out, mate. The police are involved, all sorts of I've spoken to members of MI5, a guy called Sir James Cranlin has shared the screen with me, giving me tips and tricks on how to resolve this. I've been going through the ringer yet at the moment. The upper hand is with the hackers, but it is what it is. It is what it is. What did I get to? Just a girl who loves Spurs. Good to see you, Kate. How you doing, mate? Welcome back, Shawnee. You have been missed, mate. I appreciate that. I miss you too, mate. It'd be good to see you and the hubby on the channel very soon. Hope you and Bugsy are doing well. Bugsy's in bed. She has no idea. You know what? The hardest part about all this is that she thinks that I've like lost interest in her because I haven't been taking her out as much. You know, I've been spending a lot of time, 20 hours a day. I've lost a lot of sleep doing it. But anyway, appreciate you, Kate. Appreciate you, Paul. Appreciate you, Kulu's elusive right foot. Good to see you all, and thank you, Frank, as well. Where were we, boys? We were talking about.
I just want to ask Henry something, right?
Yeah.
What you were saying, Sean, I totally agree. You're talking about dropping those extra few yards. So I was going to ask Henry, you know, the Newcastle game in point, when we knew that Gordon, Isak and Barnes were going to be playing and we had no Micky Van De Ven. Now, if I'm the coach, I'm not the coach, but if I was the coach, I would be doing just what you're saying. I would have been dropping 5-10 yards deeper to give a chance that if the ball does come out and over the top, you've got a chance for Vicario to come out and play almost like a sweeper keeper and rush out and kick the ball, right? But when you're playing on that halfway line, like you said, and you refuse to change how you're playing, even though you don't have that pace, is that, are you living in a river in Egypt? Are you living in denial that your tactics aren't going to work? Because for me, you dropped that 5-10 yards, exactly what you were talking about. What are you thinking, Henry?
Oh yeah, me and Sean have been saying this for months.
I just don't get it.
It's tactical naivety to think that if you play against Arsenal with that high line that you're going to win the game. I'll be honest. If we play the same defensive line that we played against Newcastle, Arsenal will score 2 goals minimum. If we drop it 5 yards deeper, 10 yards deeper, and actually keep a DM in and around the number 6 spot, in and around just in front of the back 4, kind of on the edge of the box, we won't concede nowhere near as many goals. But it's also we've kind of got 2 huge problems. 1, we can't take our chances. 2, we can't keep them out. What is the bigger priority? Well, if we're going to go gung-ho on the fact that we're going to outscore teams, then we need to be focusing on putting the ball in the back of the net. But we had 20 shots against Leicester and 15 shots against Newcastle. 35 shots on goal.
Yeah, Henry, great transition, mate. What is keeping the ball out the back of the net? What's going on at the top end of the pitch?
So, the pitch, mate,
is lack of clinical edge? Is it wonderful? Is it block shots? Are we taking pot shots from 25 yards that are like willy-nilly? What's going on with that? Lots of shots, but no conversion.
Yeah, it's 35 shots against Leicester and Newcastle, and the only Tottenham player that scored was a defender, which was Pedro Porro. Dan Burns scored an own goal.
That was deflected, wasn't it? Own goal, yeah.
So it's three things. One, the first point is two one-dimensional attacks. It's just getting down the byline, low crosses. The second thing is we have no urgency in our passing. Everything is sideways, not fast enough, not quick enough. And the third thing is we need to figure out how to get our wingers free in 1v1 situations, because whenever Hojbjerg or Son or Kulu or Johnson, and actually the one time Johnson did get free, he put a ball in the back of the box and Dan Burn put it in the back of his net. So how do we get our wingers in 1v1s isolated situations against the fullbacks? I don't know the answer to it. That's what Ange has got to come to. But of all the problems we've got, I'm going to add a fourth one to it. It's our number 10. We can't get our number 10 in the game. And that's James Maddison. There's a reason why. Yeah, there's a reason why right now. Yeah. There's a reason why right now he's not in that England squad. Eze's ahead of him in the pecking order. Right? Foden, Grealish, Gordon, Angel Gomez from France, who hasn't played in England in 4 years. Morgan Gibbs-White. Both of them are ahead in the pecking order of James Maddison. And I understand the manager knows him from his under 21 days at England. I get that. But is Angel Gomez a better all-round footballer than James Maddison? Probably not. But he's ahead of him in the pecking order. He's got 4 goals in 13 months.
But Henry, the thing is, someone who I know who's heavily involved in football, told me when we signed James Maddison, I'm not sure he can operate in Ange's system. And I said, what do you mean? He says, Ange plays in a compressed system, right? The backs are inverted, everything's compressed. It's like Piccadilly Circus. If the opposition also floods that midfield, there is no room for James Maddison to operate. So then he has to drop deep. And James Maddison is not a deep lying midfielder. When he played for Leicester, he played further forward. He played, behind the front, behind Vardy, slipping Vardy through.
And in a balanced midfield with Tielemans and Ndidi.
Correct.
We don't have a balanced midfield at the moment.
So he's not in the game enough. He's not dominating. A player of his ilk should be demanding the ball all the time and should be setting players free and setting them away. I'm not saying he won't do it again, but since the injury, we have not seen the James Maddison that we thought we were seeing at the beginning of the season. That James Maddison has not appeared at this present moment in time. Hopefully, he will. 61 touches in the box against Leicester, 49 touches inside the box against Newcastle.
That's the whole team.
Overplay. That's overplay.
That's the whole team that you're talking about,
yeah. That's huge. That's huge numbers. That's more than any other team in the league, right?
But we've got the highest possession in the league as well.
But there's no point having the ball
if you
can't utilise it and convert it. Yeah,
it's a lot of tickle, not a lot of shagging, a lot of
fluffer. There's a lot of fluffing going on.
A lot of fingering going on.
We got a team of fluffers.
Team of jackers.
That's exactly what we have. We are the fluffer of the porn industry.
Well, you got the fluffer. We need the big guy to come in and finish it off.
Get his Hampson out on the table and say, "This is what I'm packing."
Pop it out. Do something, lad. Do something.
Come on, Solanke. Slap it on the table, boy.
That's why I call him so lanky.
Oh,
get it out there, lad.
I need to see so lanky and not so wanky. For God's sake,
talk to me about Hojbjerg.
He's quick.
He's quick. Do you think? Honestly, I really liked him. Like when we signed him on the out of nowhere, I wanted to put out a video saying, I really fancied him. There's a lot. I've always said there's a ton of players that play. Every team has got these players that are, Burnley had another player who got injured last year. I spoke about him all last season as an example of, if you're looking
for players...
You're
talking about the Italian boy? You're talking about the young Italian boy who played really well when we played Burnley away?
I can't. Yeah, probably. I can't remember his name right now. My mind is foggy. But
you're not talking about Brownhill.
No. Wingers. Every. I was always. Right. I said this a million times last season. Every team, they're 10 a penny. Good players that are capable with the ball at their feet. Tricky little wingers. Koleosho is a player I was talking about. Right. Koleosho is a perfect example. Really tricky player. Can do a lot. We went and signed Hojbjerg. I was happy because I think Hojbjerg is a really, really tricky player. It's about whether or not he can look up at the right time and pick the right ball. It's the difference between a £20 million player and a £50 million player at 20 years of age is whether or not they've shown enough promise in the art of looking up and the art of making the right decision after the fact. If you don't look up, if you don't pick the right pass in the last part of the move, then everything that precedes it is irrelevant. And to me, Hojbjerg showed last season glimpses of why I think he is a really good player. I think he has all the tricks. He's exciting. He's a bums out of seats, but I also think he looks up at the right time. So I'm really excited. But I haven't watched enough of Tottenham this season. I haven't had the time to see what he's done since in a Tottenham shirt. Has he shown any promise, guys? Has he shown you what I think
he's a good technical winger, but he's like a lot of our wingers seem to be in the same sort of category. They're good technically, but can they finish?
They're Ange wingers.
Their game plan is to beat their man and put a dangerous ball in the box. Like
that's it.
I don't know. I know you missed majority of the transfer window, but there was 3 players that we were me and Sean. I think the main player that you spoke about, 2 players you spoke about was Itu and Gertruda.
Right, Gertruda was my favourite. Yeah,
we missed out on both of those. Yeah, then we were linked with Desiree Doué. We missed out on him. Chelsea have bought Pedro Neto, and let's be honest, I don't even know if he's going to start week in, week out. So when we go in, like right now, the hierarchy of Tottenham should be identifying who we want to bring in January. But so many of our targets, we were late too, and I don't think Hojbjerg was high up on the list at all. I think he was available, fitted the system when we went bang. Like Desiree Doué was one that we were heavily linked to as well as Pep. We were all told by Paul O'Keefe.
Desiree Doué, yeah. He was another player, yeah. What happened to him? Where did he end up going this summer? Has he gone anywhere?
Yeah, he went PSG for 60 million.
PSG.
So Neto went for
60 million.
Listen, yeah, the thing is, guys, okay, I'm sorry. I'm a big Don Fabio fan, right? He turned this club around, right? Forget all the rest, okay?
Is he still at the club, Johnny?
He's been pushed. He's there. He's hanging on. But listen, Scott Munn and Lange do things differently. Fabio's old school, like David Pleat. Okay, he's got his notebook. He knows a player. He knows a deal, and he knows who to bring in. And when you look at who he's brought in, on the whole, he's done a really good job. You know, when I look at Hojbjerg on the weekend, the other weekend's game against Newcastle, that ball that came in from the right hand side and Hojbjerg's there reminded me of a Sunday League guy who's played left back all season. He's your left back, and your striker hasn't turned up, and you say to him, "Do us a favour, mate. We haven't got a striker this week. Can you play up front?" And he goes, "Oh, okay." And the ball comes across, and he don't know whether to head it, chest it, or use his knee. And he sort of goes up like that, and he's none of the above. And then it don't go anywhere. And it was, I just thought, come on, man, just chest it in. You didn't need to do anything. Just use your chest. So that sort of upset me a bit, because I'm thinking, I look for football IQ, Henry and Sean, right? I like football IQ. I don't think Brennan Johnson has a great football IQ. I think he has great pace, but I don't think
physical attributes, hasn't he?
I just honestly, I think football IQ is one of the big things in football. You know, having to work your way around a football pitch using your brain. You know, Teddy Sheringham had an unbelievable football IQ. There are other players who might not have the greatest skill, but their ability to think ahead of the others made them survive on the football pitch. And
Johnny, would you put? I said this the other day on my channel, and it's a bit of a rogue one, but is Pedro Porro a better attacker than a lot of our right wingers?
Right. So, Henry, let me tell you, before we signed him, right, I told everybody he is not a defender. He is a winger, right? He must play right wing. For me, I would be having, it's controversial, but
you put Archie Gray in at right back and then put him on the right wing? I would put
Jed Spence at right back, and I would be playing him Pedro Porro, right wing, whipping those balls in again and again and again, curling the balls, causing absolute havoc. Because, like Perisic, he does not need to beat the man to whip the ball in. He can whip the ball in from a standing start. His ability to whip the ball in. Others need to come and beat their man to get the ball in the box. I think we don't utilise him as best we can.
If you're going to do that, do you want Dominic Solanke in the 9, or do you want your man Richalison in the 9?
No, I think we need competition. You know, we need competition. You know, Solanke cannot be playing 55 games.
Then if you start with Solanke and then it's not
working out,
Richarlison's going to play Europa League,
and then you give Porro the role of not playing double six pivot. You ask him to play more as a right wing forward, and do what you're talking about.
Yeah, because I think he's better than them all. I think
he's the best crosser I think we've got at the club at the moment. I can't think of
no doubt, and there's
no one better in the club at the moment.
I like aggression. Aggression wins 50-50 tackles. The belief that you can even win a 60-40 tackle is what you want. Brennan Johnson,
but he's always going to have in the back of his mind, I can't commit because I've got to make sure there's no one going to be on the break. Correct. I've got to run 80 yards back, right? You want to give him the freedom to be able to have someone protect him.
The only way you get that freedom is not playing Spence, because Spence is not in the plans. He's not in the Europa League squad for a reason. If you're going to go Porro, it's got to be Archie Gray at right back.
Well, whether you put Archie Gray or him, let me just tell you, Spence has been treated very badly because he had an opportunity to go and play full-time in a good team in the first team, regular, like play every week, okay? And they wouldn't let him go. So for him to not be allowed to go, and then to be told he's not going to be playing in Europe and he'd be lucky to come off the bench, again, is misuse of a player. The same as when they signed him and told him he would be part of the first team. And then as soon as he signed, Conte said, I never asked for him. So he was shunned. And
he's been shafted since he got here, isn't he?
He's been shafted and again, and he's been shafted
for a reason
again.
Or for good reason? How many managers have turned their nose up to him?
Look, I've got to be honest with you. You know, when
Conte hasn't liked him.
No, Conte didn't like him the second he turned up. It was nothing to do with anything other than he didn't ask for
Salini
him.
Didn't want him. Ryan Mason didn't want him. Ange didn't want him.
I'm just telling you, when you're young and you get discarded and you get screwed over, you lose the plot and you lose the way. We were all young.
I hear you. You've got to tread. You got to treading. Like, listen, my experience in managing people, especially youngsters that are coming in, if it's their first gig or first big opportunity, you know, some of them come in with an attitude, with a bit of like chip on their shoulder or whatever. Yeah. You have to manage it delicately, and
listen,
not every
he went
manager.
To Genoa.
I didn't know, like, not to get off the topic, but as a byproduct of it, I remember situations where there was kids coming through at Google and like they came in with a real attitude, and I was like, I can't handle you. I don't. You've done nothing to impress me. I don't want this attitude. And I put these people to one side, put them in certain groups, and turned out those kids were superstars. But I didn't know how to handle them, you know. So I ended up, you know, probably missing out on them because I was naive or I was wrong. It was poor on my part to not know how to handle these people.
But if someone But I'm just saying, if someone had said, "Look, Sean, we've signed this guy, right? Your boss or your guy has told this kid you're very much part of our plans, and he's told you, and you go, what are you talking about? He's not part of my plans." And then he turns up, and you go, "Well, you have to deal with it. I don't want anything to do with you." He lost the plot, right? But when he went to Genoa, right, he had to learn quick. You know, they were playing him on the left when he's right-sided. He wanted to play on the right.
Yeah, he did relatively well, to be fair.
Yeah, and like he got on with it, and he learned, you know, look, if I want to have a career, okay, I've got to toe the line. I've got to accept whatever's thrown, ahead of me. Anyway, he's come back. He's come back with a different attitude. He didn't want to sign for Genoa anyway. Part of the signing wasn't just about paying the money. He had to agree to go there. He didn't want to go there. He wanted to come back and prove himself. He proved himself. He worked his bollocks off. And what was the reward?
Do you know another thing?
Proving yourself and working your bollocks. Sorry, Henry, just quickly. That doesn't necessarily you have to. It's ultimately Ange might sit there and say, "Yeah, you've worked your socks off. Congratulations, well done for doing your job." But I still don't fancy you ahead of Pedro and ahead of
Ange. I know, but Ange said he's been very impressed with him. He also said, "I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go out on loan. I want you here."
But why would you say he's only getting 5 minutes?
Henry's question then: why is it he's not in the Euro squad?
Because he's not the main right back is Pedro Porro, and the backup option is Archie Gray. Archie Gray ticks a lot of boxes. He can play central midfield.
Yeah, he can play anywhere.
We've seen him play centre back. He'll probably play left, but I actually think he'll be the backup if Udogie gets injured.
But can't Spence play left back as well as right back?
He can play left back.
But he's essentially got bad PR.
Was he? No, it's nothing to do with PR. I'm sorry.
You don't think it's PR?
Where does Spence find himself in the squad right now? He's not in the Euro squad. Is he?
He'll play against Coventry.
Has he been in the matchday squad?
Look, all I can say to you guys is whatever you want to listen to, what you want to believe. He was told he was part of the plans, right? Okay.
But has he been in the matchday squad yet, Henry? Sorry, Johnny. Has he been in the matchday squad this season?
I think he was on the bench against Newcastle.
Yeah, he has. He has been. My point here is, if we do get injuries, then that could in Europe that could be an issue. My point here is poor planning by the club, because had Oliver Skipp stayed, I think it would have allowed us to have him. Is that right? Yeah. If Oliver Skipp hadn't been sold, then Spence could have been part of the squad. We are now too light, and we've got 4 frigging goalkeepers, 2 of which are never going to see the light of day. One who's like a tree falling. I mean, if Vicario gets injured, you might as well pack up and go home.
Yeah, listen, that to me is a massive issue, but I'm someone who likes an insurance policy. Like, I think that you need something, but I don't know if Tottenham had the opportunity to be able to figure that out. I completely agree with you, Johnny, that if there is an injury to a goalkeeper and it happens to be, or God forbid, like I said last season, if the timing of Vicario in that Chelsea game when we were down to 9 men and Vicario was flying out of his box, and making unbelievable interceptions.
Forster's not doing that, is he? Let's be honest.
No, Forster's not doing that.
If
Vicario mistimed one of those by half a second, we were down to 8 men in that game, and we were down to 10 men before we start the next 3 because Vicario is going to be out for 3 games. And we haven't got any backup, like not Forster nor any of the other kids. None of them are ready. Let's be honest. As much as we've seen them, Johnny, we've seen them play under 21s, right? The kids that are coming through, they're not ready for first team football, are they? Let's be honest.
Well, I feel slightly different about that, having seen as many games as I have for the under 21s, the under 18s. I think Wilt Lancashire is built like a brick shithouse.
No. I mean,
he's like an Olympic swimmer. Yeah, no, I'm saying, Gunter is unbelievable keeper. I was at the Spurs Arsenal game at Boreham Wood, and
I was there with you.
I was in. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we were there. I mean, how many saves did he make that day? I mean, it was just unbelievable. It was save after save after save.
Yeah, but it was more. It felt more like the priority was keeping the ball out of the net rather than thinking about where he's parrying it. I just feel like a higher level.
Keeper, Sean, top keeper. Josh Keeley's a good keeper. He's also signed a contract, but Gunter is going to be a keeper. I've got no doubt about. But listen, Foster is still diving, waiting to hit the ground when the opposition is almost at the halfway line celebrating a goal. And that's no good for me. That's no good.
I hear you. Boys, listen, last segment of the show. I've got a super chat here from Does that just come in just now? Or that coming? No, sorry, it came in a minute ago. I haven't seen it yet. Sorry. Sean, for those saying the tactics, Sam, I appreciate you, mate. Once again, there's no need, buddy, but I appreciate you, mate. I'll always bring up your super chats. I'll bring up as many as I can. I'll always bring up your chats, your comments generally. Sean, for those saying the tactics aren't the issue, the results since January don't lie. In the last 15, we've only beaten the bottom 4. Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United, and Everton. Something isn't right. I mean, Henry.
I'm going to read the stats.
Worse than that. It's even worse.
I'm going to read the stats, guys. Shall I read the stats? Because we've sort of mentioned them briefly, but I feel like, we should read the stats. Okay, so interesting Spurs stats. We have lost 4 of the last 6 away games in the league, 1-1, drawn 1. Compare that to the first 15 games away, where we won 6, drew 6, and lost 3. Just 2 wins out of the last 11 away games since December the 28th. We played 12, won 2, drawn 4, lost 6. Only 2 clean sheets. We've conceded 2 or more goals in the last 8 of those games. We've got 15 points in our last 12 games. We've only beaten 1 top 10 team. That was on December the 10th when we beat Aston Villa away, went 4-0 when they only had 10 men. We've only won 5 of our last 14 games. All 5 of those wins were against teams at the bottom of the league: Everton, Sheffield United, Burnley and Forest. Our form in the last 32 games would have us placed 9th. We've only had 2 clean sheets in the last 15 games, those being against relegated Sheffield United and Everton. And Spurs had the most touches in the box, 60 versus Leicester with Solanke, and 49 versus Newcastle with no striker, the most of any team in the league, yet we still struggled.
And have you said the stat about our record against, we've lost 7 in a row against the Big 6?
Yes, yeah. I mean, we could go on, but those are pretty horrendous.
We've lost 7 in a row against the big.
Our last 7 games against teams from the Big 6, we've lost 7 in a row. I mean,
the second half of last season was absolutely diabolical. But
one in the top 10.
There's obviously context. There's context. There's context to so much of that that's being like that Aston Villa game. Aston Villa game. We lost. We beat them 4-0. They had 10 men. Yeah, but weren't we 3-0 up when they had 11 men?
Yeah, but Sean,
2-0.
we're 2-0. But hang on, Sean. Okay, even allowing for that, I'll take that bit out. Okay, 1 win since December the 28th.
No, but
I'm
sure there's context to most of those.
There's results. No Sean, there can't be context. You only win 1 game against the top 10 since December the 28th. There's no context.
It sounds horrible. It sounds horrendous. I'm trying to find something. It sounds terrible, to be honest. It does sound terrible.
Well, it is terrible. I don't make up the stats, unfortunately. This isn't Disney.
There's got to be context, bro.
Context.
All right, listen. Yeah. Let me ask you this, Henry. Have you still got that page up with the fixtures coming up?
Yeah, I can send it to you now. I'll share it now.
Share it again. And I want to get Sava, thank you for the super chat, my man. Again,
thanks,
once
Sav.
again, buddy. Appreciate you, my man. Appreciate everyone's generosity this evening.
Down there,
I'm at present. I'm starting up businesses, and so I'm
going to do my prediction on how many points or wins we're going to get out of our next 7 games, which goes all the way down to Brighton. I reckon.
You're not including carrier bag, are you?
Yeah, I am including that.
No. Yeah, go through the next 7 games or whatever.
Or do the next 5 league games, which would include West Ham and Palace away, and then Villa. Jesus, I reckon.
Go on, just talk us through it.
I
reckon
we get a draw against Arsenal. And I'm more on the fence that we will lose the game. Coventry, we win on penalties. Brentford, we win. Qarabag, we win. Man United, if Ten Hag's still there, we've got every chance. But a lot of this is on that Arsenal game. Brighton away, I'm sorry to say, I think we're going to lose.
It's a tough start to the season, though, isn't it? It's a tough start to the season.
I think Brighton
Newcastle away, Arsenal at home. Obviously, Leicester was a favourable start, and Everton was like the first 2 games are favourable. But after that, Newcastle away, Arsenal home, Brentford difficult game, United difficult game, Brighton very tricky.
In Arsenal's next 5 games.
Well, let's not do that yet. So let's finish up what we got. So you're saying drawing against Arsenal, Coventry. You're saying we scrape through.
We scrape past on penalties.
Brentford we win.
Qarabag we win. Man United draw. Ferner Chavos draw. Brighton lose.
Right, Sean, were you with me last season when we went down to Brighton and we were 4-0 down? And
Yeah. I think you and I were the last people in the stadium in the Tottenham end.
I was there with my son. Yeah.
Honest to God, mate, I remember that. I wasn't sat near you or standing near you. But I found you because the entire Tottenham end was deserted.
It was deserted.
Do you remember?
You're like 30 meters away. I'm like, Johnny, come and see me. Come and stand with me. And we made a little comeback. But
Hojbjerg
there's only me and you and the Tottenham men left at the end of the game.
Yeah, Hojbjerg hit the post at 4-3 to make it 4-3. And I thought if that had gone in, we could have got a but we were embarrassed. And they had an 18-year-old kid. They had half their team out. I had an 18-year-old kid playing right back.
But they tactically outplayed us. They went straight over the midfield. Yeah. They just defenders. Just the midfield didn't matter when they had the ball. They just lobbed it over the top, and we were completely outplayed. There was a tactical out.
There's not a lot of rest at all in these fixtures. We play Coventry 3 days after the North London derby. We play Brighton 3 days after an away trip to Hungary. Brighton have got no European football, and at the moment, under a 31-year-old Fabian Hurtzler. They look incredible. James Milner is 8 years older than their bloody manager. Like at the moment, I fancy Brighton. I think I don't want to piss any Spurs fans off, but I think Brighton will thump us.
What's his name? Mentor is his name. The Brighton boy, Menti.
Yeah,
trying to think of his name. I have to look it up. But
at these fixtures, if we beat Arsenal,
Minte.
We could win majority of these games. But if we lose to Arsenal, it's exactly the same.
It's all about confidence. Confidence breeds confidence. And, I think, obviously a bit despondent about Newcastle game, but they can see the shoots. But if they come back and don't do it against Arsenal. I saw that Bissouma was subbed after someone trod on his foot. I thought he got injured blowing up a balloon at half time, but obviously not.
He scored today as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, was it today or today
or whatever it was?
What's this, Vindaloo? Check houses is bad.
I think he's talking about Arsenal's fixtures as well. Yeah. But I think Tottenham are going to beat Arsenal. I think that they'll be. It's my first day back at the stadium. I didn't make it to the Everton game. I expect to have
a game back to North London derby. Jeez.
Yeah. You know what? The disgusting thing is, right? Out of all of this chaos that I'm going through, I've lost access to an email address, and the email address is attached to my Tottenham account. And you can change anything on your Tottenham account. You can change your telephone number. You can change your address. You can change anything you want, but you can't change your email address unless you get in touch with the club. And your email address is what's attached to your wallet, which gives you the season ticket. So I had to go through the process of sending them an email saying, "Can you please look? This is my details. This is my CRN. This is my blah 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 blah. can you please update my email address to this one so that I can re-establish my wallet? Went for the whole process, didn't hear anything from them. Phoned them up today, spent an hour on the waiting list, on the queue, or to speak to someone. Finally spoke to someone, and they went, "Oh yeah, we received your email. I'll update it for you now." And I was like, "Why didn't you update it anyway?" Like, I missed the Everton game. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get to see the Arsenal game. It's an absolute joke. Like, no disrespect to Tottenham. I love Tottenham to pieces, but your the ability to converse with the club, to be able to update things like your season ticket address, is a fucking outrage.
Because you're just a number, Sean. You're just a number.
I am just a number.
Be a name in my book. I used to get my book every week. I found my books in a drawer the other day with my name on them. Something that used to be, you get your book, you were all excited, and you got your little gift at the beginning of the season, a little pin badge or something.
Yeah. What happened to that shit?
Yeah,
I didn't get anything.
You don't get that no more.
Just pay
us your money and shut the fuck up.
100%.
Look at our
anyway,
fixtures.
I'm gonna be at the Arsenal game, so I want to see everyone that's going to be there. Everyone that's going to be there at the Arsenal game. I want you to come up and say hello to me if you see me, and I'll bore you with some.
We should do a little show. We should do a show. I'll see you there, Shawnee. We should do a little. Upload prior to the game.
Yeah, 100%. Also, by the way, guys, there's a pub around the corner from me called the White Hart, believe it or not, and it's owned by a Tottenham fan, and he has said that we can do a like a live stream from the pub for a live stream game, where we could have it like streaming live from the pub, and people could come down in Surrey, in Weybridge, Addlestone way. So if anyone's interested in turning up, I'd love to get you boys down. We'll do we'll hire out the pub sort of thing. They're very interested in doing that. Just quickly, Dean Livesley with a Australian super chat. Must be early in the morning for you, Dean. Appreciate you, mate. Must be very early in the morning. Like, what must be like fucking 3 o'clock in the morning for you, mate. I'm not sure if you're going to bed or you're just getting up. But great to see the band back together, lads. Great to see you back, Sean. Appreciate you, Dean, very much. Thank you very much for your generosity. Boys, we're gonna. Oh wait. So Henry said.
Can I just ask Sean? Right, the guy with the white heart. Why doesn't he just come up and manufacture a sign that says lane and stick it there outside for the game?
Yeah, he should do. No, he should do. He's actually a really good guy. He's a really good guy, and he puts on every live game. He's got all the. It's like a really cool pub actually. It's got an awesome backyard with like a canal, like a stream flowing through the backyard. It's a brilliant pub. I'm going to organize a live streamed show, and I'm going to try and get Henry and Johnny to come down and share it. So if anyone's interested in coming down, I'm sure the pub would appreciate the business for maybe for a Thursday night, maybe for one of the European games. So I don't know if anyone who's watching this would be up for it, but you can travel down to Surrey for the evening. Anyway, Johnny, mate, I didn't get. Sorry, Henry, can you put the fixtures back up for one last second, mate? Unless you've taken it down. I want to get Johnny's last fixtures and then take on the fixtures. And then we're going to round off and let everyone go to peace. Johnny, what's your take on Arsenal?
We're going to beat Arsenal. We're going to beat Arsenal. We'll beat Arsenal. We'll beat Coventry. Brentford's going to be a tricky one. I do worry about Brian Mbeumo and Wissa. I wanted Mbeumo a year ago. Tight one. Qarabag will win. Man United, Tottenham, we always struggle there. Somehow or other, we get done, even when we're the better team. But it could be the battle of the El Sacchio, as Henry put it. Fenerbahce, I think we'll beat them. Brighton, I really don't fancy our chances.
Especially 3 days after an away game in Europe.
Yeah, I just don't. I'll try and be positive, but they're playing great football. I think we'll draw against. So just to recap: beat Arsenal, beat Coventry. Hard game against Brentford. Thomas Frank tactically really good, but I'm going to go for a Spurs narrow win. Beat Qarabag. Draw with Man United. Beat Ferencváros, lose to Brighton.
So very similar to Henry's. Okay. So, both, let me ask you these boys now: is Ange Postecoglou going to be manager of Tottenham at the end of the season?
Oh, I thought he was going to say Christmas.
Come on, stretch it. How about, will he be the manager at the end of September? Let's start there.
Now, come on, boys. He's the man. You got to give him. You got to give him the season. You've got to give the man the season.
I'm behind Ange, but I'm not the one calling the shots. Yeah. I would like him to see him here, but I am so on the fence. If we don't sort out this defensive side of things, we can't be going into games like Aussie Ardiles trying to beat teams 5-4, 3-2, 4-3. If we can sort out the defensive issues, then sure. If not, I am on the fence.
Do you know he's conceded more goals than Aussie Ardiles' suicidal defence? Do you know that? Right, I'm just putting it out there, right? Pochettino was way down. I think it's 1.56.
I can't believe we were throwing the towel in. We were calling out.
No,
we were desperate for good football, desperate for possession-based attractive football. It comes with its it comes with its collateral damage, boys and girls. You know,
of course
you got to stick with the man.
Ange always wins the trophy in his second season. So he told me. I think he told you as well, Henry, didn't he? And half the fan base.
Yeah.
Always wins in the second season. So let's believe. Listen, I want him. Would you
take finishing bottom half of the league if you got a League Cup?
No.
FA Cup, yeah.
FA Cup.
Because you're going to get Europa League anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't think at present we are stronger than the top three.
Can you imagine this team in Champions League? I mean, come on. Come on. I mean, I've got to tell you, I'm going to hit this. I'm going to leave it with you before we go. We'll discuss it another time. But Ange's record in Europe is absolutely shambolic, right?
I know, diabolical.
It's shambolic, right? Okay. I know we hear it because he's Celtic. So we'll take it with a pinch of salt. We all want him to succeed. Well, I want him to succeed, but I am worried for him.
Listen, I'm not there yet. I love the guy. I like him a lot. I hear what you're saying. No, listen, yeah, but I know, but I feel like it's more for me. It's more on the attackers to find their finishing boots than it is anything else. I think we've got enough quality. Our team is good enough, and I don't think we're predictable. I think that it's not on him right now. I think that for me, I want to see more output from the people at the top end of the pitch, whoever they are. But listen, it will be what it will be. Henry, what's coming up on either of your two channels, mate? And thank you very much for coming back on debut or the re-emergence of the Spurs Talk Show, mate. I appreciate you.
Is that your name, Henry Two Channels?
That Sinead O'Connor, Eminem, whatever kind of works. Someone said to me the other day, I can't say that on stream. I'll tell you guys afterwards. But yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of coverage for this game this week. Hopefully, do a watch along for it. I just hope we get the right result. I really do, because otherwise, it's going to be toxic, like Britney Spears, mate. It's going to be catastrophic on the socials. But look, yeah, obviously, thanks for having me on. Pleasure as always, mate.
What's coming up? Is it Henry Wright TV and Henry Talks Football?
Yeah, Henry Talks Football. Yeah, there'll be a lot of coverage to the North London derby. And on Henry Talks Football, I'll probably do some coverage to the Liverpool game as well. Nice. I think they are a serious team at the moment.
I love Hard Slot, mate. Listen, I almost cried when he didn't come. I gave it the big one. I was selling everybody how this guy was going to revolutionise Spurs. I really thought he was coming, and he was going to bring Gerst through there. I was sold it. I bought in
Santiago Jimenez and everyone like that.
And I was dumped. He dumped me at the gate. I was upset. Listen, you see enough that he's changed his style, and he's taken Klopp. He's still aggressive and progressive, but he's erring on the side of the defensive setup as well. And I think they look more balanced. And this is what I'm asking for from Ange, to have more balance. I actually think this season that we will start to see Bergvall and Archie Gray enforce themselves on this team as the season progresses, to come to be the real sort of standout players for this season. I truly believe that.
I agree, mate. I agree. Henry, thanks so much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate everyone for sticking by, for hanging around, and for waiting for me to come back. I'm back now, guys. I promise you, every day I can. Johnny, anything coming up, mate? In my absence, have you started a channel yet, or
no? I haven't started a channel yet, Shawnee. We did have the conversation about you and I doing something, but
yeah, well, that's going to happen now. That's going to happen for sure.
Yeah, we'll do something. But you can find
we're gonna rename Spurs. We're gonna rename Sean Butler TV into something mutual, and then me and Johnny are gonna get onto that.
Well, I was going to say,
anything on your? Are you doing? Twitter stuff?
My Twitter stuff. Let's talk and I do. Let's talk Tottenham 1882 on my Instagram and TikTok, where I put on the longer and better videos that you can't put on X, thanks to Elon. That Elon, like he needs a few.
Johnny. Appreciate you, Henry. Guys, massive thank you to everyone that's been waiting for me to come back. And your kind messages in the comments have not gone unnoticed. I really appreciate you all. I'll be back tomorrow morning with Bugsy Malone. We're going to do our first walk and talk ahead of the Arsenal game. We're getting back at it, guys, full time, 100%. I really appreciate you all for stopping by. Thank you to everyone with the super chats. Really appreciate you all. And I can't wait to get everyone from the community back onto the channel, and for me to get my face back onto your channels as well. Love you all. Thank you, Henry and Johnny. Thanks, everybody. Like, subscribe, and comment, and all that jazz. Links will be in the description for these two. And I'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.